The flash went off as she said, "I do." That was the moment I knew the photo would break her world and fix mine. I stood behind my lens, steady hands, calm breath, a crowd of smiles in front of me. The air smelled of roses and deception. The groom's hand trembled slightly as he slid the ring onto her finger. Not from nerves, from guilt. I'd seen that tremor before. He didn't know yet that I'd caught it all. I first met them 3 years ago. Back then, I wasn't a wedding photographer. I was his photographer, Daniel's. He was an architect, designing luxury hotels that made people believe in perfection. I handled his brand images, magazine spreads, promotional shoots. Professional, clean. We worked late, often. Too often. That's how I met her, the fiancée, Julia. She'd bring him coffee, laugh at his terrible jokes, sit in the corner scrolling through color palettes for their future home. She called me Danny's genius with a camera. I used to believe they were the kind of couple you see in ads, beautiful, magnetic, inseparable. Until the night I stayed late to edit his portraits. He forgot his phone on my desk. The message preview was impossible to ignore. She suspects nothing. Can't wait for tonight. I wish I could say I ignored it, but I tapped it open. Her name wasn't there. It was someone else's. Leah, his assistant. That was the night my loyalty fractured. I didn't tell Julia, not yet. I wanted proof, not just for her, but for me. Betrayal is a quiet poison. You don't scream when it hits, you calculate. I began watching him through the lens differently. Angles changed, details emerged. His touch on her shoulder felt rehearsed. His eyes never stayed. I followed him once, camera in hand, saying I wanted candid shots for his next press piece. He took Leah to the very rooftop where he proposed to Julia. I stood in the shadows, shooting frame by frame as he kissed her against the skyline. Those photos were perfect. Perfect enough to ruin him. But I didn't send them to Julia. Not then. I waited. Because revenge, like photography, is about timing and light. When Julia called 6 months later asking if I could shoot her wedding, I almost laughed. Daniel hadn't told her. He was going to marry her anyway. I said yes, calmly, professionally. The months leading up to the wedding were a lesson in restraint. He'd greet me like an old friend, slap my back, ask if I'd bring out his good side. I wanted to tell him the truth, that his good side had already been documented, destroyed, and filed neatly on a drive labeled "For the Bride." On the morning of the ceremony, I slipped the memory card into my pocket like a weapon. The venue was a masterpiece of money, chandeliers, violins, the kind of elegance that made lies look expensive. Julia looked radiant, too radiant. She deserved to know before she said forever. I had rehearsed the moment in my head for weeks. Between the bridal portraits, I leaned close to her, keeping my voice low. "Julia," I said, "there's something you should see." She frowned, confused, but followed me to the empty corridor outside the bridal suite. I pulled out my camera and showed her one photo. Just one. Daniel, Leah, the rooftop. His hand on her neck, his ring still on his finger. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She stared at the image like it was a mirror that had finally told the truth. Then she looked at me and whispered, "Don't say a word." And I didn't. The ceremony began 15 minutes later. No one noticed the shift in her expression. The music swelled, guests turned, and Julia walked down the aisle with the calm of a storm that hasn't yet reached the shore. I photographed every step. Her veil glowed in the light. Daniel looked nervous, searching her face for warmth that wasn't there anymore. When the officiant asked if anyone had reason these two should not be joined, Julia's gaze flicked to me, just for a second. Then she turned to Daniel and said, "Actually, I do." Gasps broke through the silence like glass shattering. She took the bouquet, reached into it, and pulled out a small photo, printed, folded, the one I'd shown her. She held it up for the guests to see. Daniel froze. The color drained from his face. The crowd murmured. His mother covered her mouth. Leah, sitting 3 rows back, went pale. Julia smiled, a beautiful, terrible smile, and said, "I won't marry a liar, but thank you all for coming." She turned, handed me the bouquet with the photo still inside, and walked down the aisle the opposite way she came. The music never started again. I stayed behind, pretending to pack my equipment, watching the chaos unfold. Daniel tried to explain, his voice cracking, but the truth had already developed, exposed, permanent, undeniable. You can't edit betrayal out of a picture once the lights hit it. I sent Julia the full folder that night, every photo, every angle, every secret. A week later, her lawyer contacted me for a statement. I gave it, gladly. The story made headlines in their social circle. The wedding that wasn't. Daniel's firm dropped him. Leah left the city. Julia, from what I heard, started a design studio of her own. Her first project? A photo gallery about truth. She asked me to shoot it. People think revenge is loud, screaming, fighting, chaos. They're wrong. Revenge is silent. It's a steady hand holding a camera. It's patience, timing, light. When the moment comes, you don't need to shout. You just show the picture and let everyone see what was always there.